When you read the sort of combination of what the House and Senate wanted, what stands out to you as, winners and losers in this deal, I suppose, corporate America-wise, as opposed to Main Street?
Yeah, I think putting aside, how well Main Street and small businesses will do out of this, meaning that there's a very meaningful allocation to those two parts of the country that need it. On the corporate side, one of the concerns that we have is while the $500 million for the bailouts or for the federal assistance to companies, there will be an oversight board, and one of our concerns is, again, who gets to pick those winners and losers. I think in answer to your question, though, the clear winners will be the airlines and Boeing. It's a very bipartisan consensus that they need to be rescued and continue to be saved. And then I think the following right below that, the other priorities will be the hospitality, so hotels, restaurants, et cetera. I would add in there the auto industry as well is a bipartisan sort of priority. Once you get below that, though, it starts to get a bit more tricky in terms of potential losers or winners and losers, meaning there's not complete bipartisan buy-in to rescue the cruise line companies, for example, the shale industry. So it does get trickier, and we are concerned about it. The other quick thing just to mention is that there's $1.3 trillion of ask from U.S. industry for assistance. The fund today is $500 billion, and yes, it can be levered up, but there's still even a mismatch between the amount needed and the amount allocated in this bill.
Charles, you said that there's not only a mismatch, but you've said to me before that you believe that Congress may look to another round of stimulus. And so when we look to some of the losers in the current bill, where can we see money start to go, and which industries will be most heavily lobbying now for extra aid to specific firms and industries?
Yeah, so I think that what we'll see is industries that don't get priority treatment in this first round, and it's some of the industries and Boeing that I mentioned earlier that will be. But as the money starts to either run out or it takes longer, Congress is going to have to go back for a phase 4. They know that, by the way. The leadership on both sides acknowledge that privately, but also somewhat publicly. And I think that in the end, we'll need at least another $2 trillion. And it's not just for corporate America. I think it's also going to be for Main Street and for small businesses as well. But the concern that we have on that fourth round is that while this phase 3 happened at warp speed, it may not feel that way for the markets, but the way Washington works, this was warp speed. Getting to a fourth round of stimulus will take much longer. The competing priorities between the Democrats and Republicans will be much more at play, so there's even bigger risk of delay in the next round. And I think that in answer to your question, there are a number of companies and industries that may not have the luxury of that time. I'd say the shale industry is one that stands out the most as really not having enough time potentially.
Yeah. Charles, the Bank of England today warned of long-term effects from the virus and its impact on the economy. A lot of people I'm talking to are anticipating that we get a V-shaped recovery, that the bounce back is very, very strong. Do we have to call that into question? Because a lot of people are talking about it, and I'm just wondering if it doesn't become a reality, are people ready to find themselves in that different place?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people, a lot of commentators out there, and the sell side in particular, are getting a bit ahead of themselves on a V-shaped recovery. We may see a little bit of a V-shaped recovery in the stock market or in equity markets and some of the other financial markets, because they will discount a lot of the good news that will be coming up earlier. But in terms of the actual economic recovery, or to put it a different way, the economic fallout from this unprecedented global pandemic, it's going to take longer, despite the unprecedented amounts of stimulus, both monetary and fiscal, that are being thrown at this. There are going to be 5 million Americans plus that will be laid off. There is no way they will all get rehired 2, 4, or 5 months from now. I think we're going to see permanent changes or semi-permanent changes in our consumption patterns. I think travel will continue to be affected longer than people think. So while I applaud the president and his enthusiasm to get America back to work by Easter, I think the reality is that we're looking at really a 3 to 5 month prolonged downturn and then a U-shaped recovery.